What's good, people? I hope you're well. Welcome back to the show. A new show, one that I'm try to bring you as many Saturdays as I can. Obviously, when I'm not about, I'm not about. But I must say, it's a show I've wanted to do. I feel like some of the reaction is very Arsenal heavy, and I also feel like some of the reaction is of a few days before or after, should I say, the games take place. So this weekend has been yet again twists and turns. It's mad to say that this season on Wednesday and Tuesday, I believe Lawless and I said, wouldn't it be crazy if Liverpool go and beat Man United 7-0 and then lose to Bournemouth? We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on the pressure that Manchester City have put us under, as in Arsenal, tomorrow when we go to Fulham. Some team news updates on that as well. Leicester and Brendan Rodgers, what the hell do they do now? I mean, it's looking pretty stale, isn't it? Chelsea, I know they're not a shocking side, but they have been of late. And Leicester look really poor, really, really poor. Everton, huge win, absolutely massive, considering that Bournemouth picked up 3 points. Crystal Palace broke a record tonight, although they weren't shocking. I mean, in 20 years that these stats have began, they've had this number of games, which I believe is 3 or 4 now, without a shot on target. I mean, that is a poor record to set. What is happening with Patrick Vieira at Crystal Palace? An absolute Arsenal legend, and one that I hope does continue to stay in the job. But you have to question the results business of this sport and wonder what is going wrong at Crystal Palace. Some shocks today, some strange results, some good games. Um, let's all laugh at Richarlison again. He scored 2 goals so far this season. Neither of them have counted. One of them he ripped his shirt off. The other one he started to tell the crowd and everybody, including Conte, to shush. Only to find out that his goal was ruled offside. But of course, they did get a win. Nottingham Forest. What's happening with them? Still in a relegation battle. I can't sit there and say they're not. Their away form is absolutely shocking, and they need to sort that out. Albeit their home form has kept them in the race for just escaping the relegation battle, but it looks to me as if they're right in with one. So to me, it's going to be another weekend where people are going to be talking goods, bads, and the ugly for some clubs in the Premier League. What a season this has been, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you smash a like on this video. It's absolutely free. It does me so much good. So please make sure you do that. Press the subscribe as well. Absolutely free. Try and get me up to 8K as quickly as possible, people. That would be amazing. And get your questions in. Any questions that you have, please put a Q at the start of the question so that I know it's a question for me. We'll whack them up in the chat, and for this half-hour stream, we'll get as many as we can for you. There's no place else to start other than Bournemouth. Early kickoff, 12:30. I've got to say, I thought Liverpool were really poor. Really, really poor. I do have to give credit to Bournemouth. I thought Philip Billing was sensational in parts today. He's a player I've always liked, to be honest. He's always had that physical presence and that muscle in the middle. And I thought he was excellent today. But the two players that really, really impressed me for Bournemouth were their two wide men. Jaden Anthony, I think he could be a special player. He's a very, very interesting player. And the other wide man actually got man of the match. I'm not even going to try and butcher his name, but he was sensational, absolutely brilliant. So I think when you look at it, it was a well-deserved performance from Bournemouth. And they have to be really, really careful, Liverpool, because they were gloating, they were getting excited, they were all shouting at Manchester United, rightly so, rightly so. But they were poor and really poor in parts. I don't really look at any of their clear-cut chances, so to speak, and go, wow, how have Liverpool not got something out of that? Really poor, man, really poor. So as they go into a huge week against Real Madrid and Manchester City, you have to look at that Liverpool performance and get worried about their next two fixtures, because for me, they need to improve on that. And, I know he still scores goals. I know he's world class on his day, but Mo Salah at the moment, just this season for me, it's starting to perhaps show that he is perhaps starting to show the signs or early signs of his decline as a footballer. because it wasn't just the penalty miss. I thought he was ineffective. I thought he was really ineffective. Out of the front three, I was surprised Klopp left him on. And I know sometimes you leave them on because it is Mo Salah. But actually, when you look at it, I thought Nunez was a lot more um, effective in the first half. Diego Jota is showing signs that he's going to get back to fitness and be vital for the second half of this season for Liverpool as we come to the kind of final third and last 12 games or so of the season. But what's happening to Mo Salah? You know, a lot of people pointed the finger at Fabinho and Van Dijk this season, but Mo Salah just hasn't been himself. And I know that he still scores goals. He was great last weekend. I've seen really good goals from him. I've seen glimpses of quality. He's still got good numbers, but it ain't the same Mo Salah for me. So let me know what your thoughts are of that, people. Liverpool in a bit of trouble today. Big up Bournemouth, huge win, man. They needed that so big time. I look at what they've done now and put themselves out of the relegation zone, and it's basically all on everybody else. You know, a lot of teams to play tomorrow. And it really did put the pressure on that relegation fight. And one team that responded was Everton. Now, I tipped Everton to go down at the start of this season under Frank Lampard, and I stood by that. I think it was justifiable. He got sacked, and I tipped Gerrard and Lampard to both get sacked. Neither of them I thought would last. That's now both happened. As soon as that appointment was Sean Dyche, I said Everton will be fine. It's not even the fact that they like are now going to be a brilliant side to watch. The Sean Dyche factor, it's just it's just going to happen, isn't it? He's just going to keep them up. And when Dominic Calvert-Lewin does come back and starts to score goals and be that kind of focal point up top, I think it will just give Everton even more of a reason to stay in this division. And that's a fantastic 3 points against Brentford. Superb. You know, at Goodison Park, we struggled. He honestly got them playing in a way that I think teams are going to struggle against them now. He's got the right sort of players, hasn't he, already? There's people he knows already, like Tarkowski, McNeil from Burnley. He's got players like Connor Cody. He's got muscle in the midfield like Decore and Anana. I've just mentioned Calvert-Lewin when he comes back. He's got runners like Iwobi and Damari Gray. I actually think this is the perfect sort of personnel that Sean Dyche needs to play a style of football that, let's be fair, in the last 2 to 3 years has been very, very effective and very hard for teams to break down. So I just think Everton are going to be fine, and I do think that's a huge win. Huge, huge win. Um, I move on to two teams or another team that's fighting down the bottom. Two teams that actually try to play football. One that's definitely playing football for the right reasons this season, and the other that in glimpses has shown what they can do, but has also shown frailties and vulnerabilities as well. And I'm of course talking of Leeds and Brighton. I was flicking between the games today and trying to see which one I fancied watching. All I knew is I didn't want to see Tottenham play. That was the only one I didn't want to watch. So I was flicking through the games today, thinking which ones are looking good. And it was Leicester and Chelsea, and of course Leeds and Brighton that really did stand out for me as the two that I fancied watching. And I have to say, the Leeds Brighton one was great. You know, Brighton are such a good side to watch. They're great when they're going forward. The players they've recruited, the scouting system at Brighton, the way the clubs run, you have to big it up. Now, I'm a huge fan of McAllister. I'm a huge fan of Moses Caicedo. I think Mitoma is an absolute star. I really like what they've had in the last few years with Pascal Gross. I think they've done well to recruit the players and keep the players and sustain some of the players that they have. They've lost some, they've got some good money, but I honestly believe they're a really good side, man, to watch Brighton. But Leeds impressed me. Leeds showed a never say die attitude today, and I did feel like they could have had done a little bit more. Um, I was surprised not to see Nonto start. I think he's been one of their best players. Jack Harrison is a player who deserves a mention for the right and wrong reasons. Made up for a shocking own goal, I have to say. I mean, why he doesn't clear that with his other foot is beyond me. You know, he's just got to hook his right foot behind it and clear it. And he goes with his left and puts it in. It's a shocking own goal. But then he does use his right foot up the other end for the right reasons and puts it in. And fair play to him. But it weren't enough to get Leeds out of the mud. They are the ones that I did tip to go down now in place of Everton because I just don't think that Javi Grazia has got enough to keep them up. Now, I could be wrong. I spoke to Joe, who's a regular on this channel, who's a Leeds fan, and he says, no, it's better. He's happy with that signing. He thinks that is definitely more of a chance for them to stay up than, of course, keeping hold of Jesse Marsh, who was not a fan of. But I must say this. I really feel like this relegation fight is probably going to be the closest we've seen in a while. Spurs, I'm not going to give them too much of a mention. They beat Nottingham Forest, who most teams have done when they've gone away from home. Nottingham Forest, their away record is shocking. Could have come back into it. They did get a goal back, and they got a consolation goal at that, but they missed a penalty towards the last kick of the game, which could have made the scoreline a little bit less embarrassing for them. But Tottenham needed a win. They're in the mud. They've had a pointless season yet again, trophyless yet again. And they're a team at the moment that I just don't understand what they're going to do next. And I honestly don't. I'm not saying that to banter them. I'm saying that seriously. I cannot for the life of me understand where they're going. They've tried everything. Levy and Enoch are apparently the problem. They've tried everything. They've tried Pochettino. They've tried proven winners. They've tried do it now managers. Poch, Mourinho, Conte, even Nuno, who was a Premier League proven manager. They've ruined them all. They've ended up putting the only manager I know that hasn't won something is Mourinho and Conte at Tottenham. They've won something everywhere else. It's absolutely crazy how cursed the club is. Like for me, just fold the club, man. Just fold the club. No one would miss them. They're a pointless club. They don't win anything. They've got an awful fan base. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them out of this league. That's what I say. Um, who else was there today? Of course, Leicester. Let's talk about Leicester. Um, in parts, they look like they play some nice football still. They're definitely better when they have James Maddison, like 100%. But my God, I look at them and they look just stale under Brendan Rodgers. They really do. They've got some great players. I love what I see when Tielemans plays. Maddison, I think he's a star. I think he's absolutely ridiculously good. I like Harvey Barnes as a player. And I like some of the players that have come into the club. But I look at them and I just think, there's something wrong there. They got to be careful. They've got to be careful. They've been dragged right the way down into this relegation battle yet again. They had a shocking start where they sat bottom of the table for the best part of 6 to 7 games of the season. Brendan Rodgers, is he the guy? Has he taken them as far as he can? Who knows? I honestly just don't believe that you can sit there and tell me that he's now all of a sudden a bad manager. I never thought he was a world-class elite manager, but at the same time, I didn't ever see him putting Leicester into a relegation fight. That's what we've got right now for Leicester City. They are definitely in a relegation fight. I look around them, the points they're on are the same points as the people we're saying are going to be in the race to potentially fight for relegation. It really is crazy. A lot of people enjoying the Tottenham banter, which is always good to see. Great to see so many of you in the chat, by the way, people. I hope you're enjoying your weekend and your Saturday night. Chelsea. I looked at Chelsea's goals today, and if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be satisfied. I'd be excited. I'd be positive. Um, I've just sat there and spoke about the fact that I'm worried for Leicester, but it doesn't prevent the fact that Chelsea actually look good going forward in parts today. Thought Kai Havertz's goal, a player that I think has deserved a lot of criticism that he's received, thought that was a fantastic goal. João Felix scored a goal that was disallowed, but actually was a good piece of play by Chelsea. And Chilwell, I mean, let's be fair, he's a player that I've rated for a long time, but how the keeper's getting beat there is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. Potter needed to start winning, and that's what he's done, not just in the Champions League, but also now in the Premier League. And can Chelsea catch up with the likes of Fulham, Brentford, and Brighton, which, let's be fair, we should never be putting that in the same sentence after them spending 600 million. I honestly believe they're heading for the Conference League this year, Chelsea. I really do. I really can see it. I think the top four, they're not going to get. And I think fifth and sixth is going to go down to the likes of Liverpool, Spurs, and Newcastle. And I really can see Chelsea getting this seventh place. Now, I would rather see one of the others go for it. I'd rather see a Fulham in there, a Brighton in there, or a Brentford in there. I would. Because those three clubs would actually really appreciate that competition and go for it. Chelsea are just going to be an absolute disgrace to see in there, if I'm honest with you. It would just be nothing other than funny. I actually think that competition should be rewarded for the clubs that are going to be given an opportunity to go to some European away days. And I think that it would just be a waste for a team like Chelsea to get in there. When you look at the fans that would have loved those opportunities to go away to some crazy places in Europe, like Fulham, Brentford, and Brighton fans would enjoy. So I hope it's one of those that gets it. And then it brings us to the game tonight: Crystal Palace and Manchester City. Crystal Palace, in parts, deserved something out of the game, but when you do not take your chances and you cannot put anything on target, do you actually deserve anything? Now, that is a record you do not want to be seeing. Crystal Palace have now gone 3 games without a shot on target. It is absolutely crazy to think that they have got the likes of Zaha, Elise, Edouard, Mateta, Jordan Ayew. They can't hit the target. I'm not talking about score. They can't hit the target. That's a worry for me. Since the World Cup, they haven't won a game. Crystal Palace could be in a relegation fight, people, if they carry on this form. It's crazy to think that they had a fairly decent start, a really good start last season under Patrick Vieira, a guy I absolutely love. But now I'm seeing Crystal Palace stats like that. Wow. Since stats have been around for 20 years, I think it was, Gary Neville said, no team has ever, in 20 years, gone 3 games without hitting the target. It is scary, really scary. I don't know what Elise is doing. He's had an absolute moment of madness for me. Um, just leave him there. Stand your ground. Jockey him. Leave him. He's out wide. It's frustrating bit of play. Palace completely switched off from the corner. Gondwan's there. He's got to pick his man. Stand your ground. Don't go in and just take him out. Real naivety from a player that I really like the look of in Elise. But frustrating to think that actually, for all good and bad that Palace and City were, it could have been 0-0. And we could have gone into tomorrow's game against Fulham knowing that if we won, we could go 7 points clear. But it's not the case now. Give away the penalty. Haaland slots it home. 28th goal of the season. And now the pressure is on Arsenal. 100% it is. The first time in a long time, and we're going to see this a lot, unfortunately, now, it's going to be pressure on us every weekend. Why? Because Manchester City, now that Europe is back, are going to be playing on Saturdays and we're going to be playing on Sundays. So it's going to be over to Arsenal every weekend now. Man City, win or loss, over to Arsenal. The pressure's there. And last part of the, it's massively key. The first part, it was all the other way around. It was the other way around. So let's see what Arsenal can do tomorrow. We go into that game with an injury update. Charles Watts has tweeted out literally not too long ago saying that both Trossard and Jesus could be in the squad tomorrow and in contention. Now, this is a huge boost. If this is the case, I don't see either of them starting. I'll be very surprised if that happens. But it's nothing but a bonus for Arsenal. It's nothing but good news. Knowing that we have those 2 players on the bench gives us at least some firepower to allow us to try to get those 3 points. For me, when you've got Jesus and Trossard coming on, that is a huge upgrade to bringing on the likes of Fabio Vieira and Nelson. Now, I don't have anything against either of those players, and of course, I'm not going to say a bad word about either of them, particularly Nelson from last weekend, Screamer, and Fabio Vieira, who in parts I do really like. But when you've got those players to bring on the bench, if I'm Fulham, I'm thinking, oh, really? Jesus and Trossard coming on? This is not good. What worries me? I'll tell you what worries me. 2 things. Craven Cottage, Fulham are very good at home. And I'm going to be attending tomorrow's game with my dad and the boys thinking, I'm a bit nervous, I can't lie. The pressure's now on us. It's a team that have made it very difficult for a lot of big teams that have gone there. And it wasn't that long ago where I look back to the Emirates game against them and the fixture at home and think, wow, last minute winner to win 2-1. Now, I understand that we threw away the goal because Gabriel had a bit of a moment and Mitrovic put them ahead 1-0. We turned it around 2-1. But this is a good Fulham side. And, Emilio on this channel always says that he's been so impressed with them this year. They've been the surprise package for me. I've seen Brentford do great things. I've seen Brighton do great things. It's no surprise they're up there. But it is a surprise for me. I had Fulham to go down. I had Fulham and Bournemouth going down along with Everton this season before a ball was kicked. I didn't think Fulham had enough quality, but I look at it now and think, do you know what? They really have. Now, another bonus is Paulinho is out tomorrow. He's a huge, huge part of why they've been doing so well. And they don't look the same without him. But the one player that does worry me is Mitrovic. Mitrovic is a bully boy. People in the chat are agreeing with me. He is going to be hard work, hard work tomorrow. The other player who's now got 5 goals in 5 games is Mana Solomon. Now, when Arsenal were linked with him 2 years ago, I didn't know much about him. He was at Shakhtar Donetsk and, believe it or not, was playing, I believe, with Mudryk. And a player that I looked at and thought, actually, I quite like him on YouTube clips. He came to Fulham and he got a huge injury. Now he's come back and got himself to fitness. He scored 5 in 5. Now, I know the other one that he scored the other day was a bit lucky because it just fell to him in the right place and he was there to head it in. But the 4 previously to that were absolute screamers, bangers from outside the areas, from on the corner of the penalty box. He's got a great shot on him. So for me, he could be a real worry, and it's something that Arsenal need to do. The other thing that worries me is our defensive record. Now, away from home, we've actually got quite good clean sheets. But actually, when you look at it, guys, it's been really poor on the last few. We've been conceding goals left, right, and centre. And if it weren't for us putting them in, we would have had a few terrible results. So that needs to be strengthened. We need to start looking at our defensive unit and understand where it is that we're going wrong. And I can only think that away from home, we're a lot more controlled. We have a lot more awareness of conceding goals. At home, I just think we get a little bit gung ho and excited, and that then makes the games exciting. And we're leaking goals, and we're forgetting that actually, I know we're going for goals, but we are leaking them also as well. So we need to look at that naivety at times and ensure that we're trying to improve us defensively, because it is going to be a problem for us if this continues. So that's going to be massive for me, absolutely key. I think this game's going to be won in midfield, because when our midfield trio is fit, which I hope it is, we do well. Partey, Erdegaard, and Xhaka. Now, Erdegaard, there's rumours, is still unwell. I'm not sure how unwell he is, but I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. Xhaka played on Thursday night, and I think will be fine. Likewise, Thomas Partey came on for Jorginho in that second half against Lisbon, and I think will be fit to start. I expect to see the same back five. I think Ramsdale in goal, Ben White, Zinchenko. I believe Tierney is still ill. We've obviously got Gabriel and Saliba to come back as that partnership. The midfield trio I've just mentioned. And I think the front three will be as follows. Saka on the right, Martinelli through the middle. And I think it will be either Smith Rowe or Nelson on that left wing. Then you've got Gabriel Jesus, Fabio Vieira, and Trossard all to utilise as the 3 subs. And then you've still got 2 more if you need them. This is going to be a massive game, guys. If we do not win this game, Man City are not just breathing down our necks. They're going to be absolutely loving the fact that they can go into every fixture the next few weeks knowing that if they do their job, the pressure is on us to do ours. And that is why this one's so important. We've got Palace and Leeds after this one, leading up to Anfield. And this is going to be a huge April. If we come out of April unscathed, I do believe we'll win the league. And I think if we keep our players fit for every game, we'll win the league. There's 12 games left. We need these players to be fit as possible. If they aren't, that is what could let us down. So let's see what we go. Excuse me. Let's bring up some questions. Make sure you get your questions in the chat, people. We're going to do the last few of these before we wrap up. Archangel, big up yourself, mate. I hope you're well. Good to see you. Go back a long time, man, since I've been podcasting. You've always been in and around the chat, so I hope you're well, mate. Says Dan, can anyone explain to me the difference in the handball that Liverpool ordered a penalty for and the 3 that we weren't? The clear answer, mate, is no. There is no difference whatsoever. There was at least 3 handballs, maybe even 4, against Bournemouth that Arsenal should have been given last week, and at least 2 of them I thought were blatant. But if you're not going to give them, it's fine. We'll take the W, we'll move on, and we won't moan. But then I see that one given today, and they're all saying it's handball. I think it's a little bit harsh. I still do. He's jumped up. Naturally, your arm's going to be up there. He didn't do that with it. He went up with his arms up. Now, okay, if that's the rules, you got to give it. So why weren't it given it last week then? I just do not understand the inconsistency with this. It's the officiating. It's the VAR system that does not work. Sorry, it's not the system. The system does work. It's the people. And unfortunately, we have some poor officiating in this league. It is absolute shambles. So I'm with you there, Archangel. I cannot answer the question for you, but you have a right to bring it up. Taib, big up yourself, brother. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in and listening again. Says Dan, how do Arsenal stop Manor Solomon? Well, I've just mentioned how fantastic he is, and I believe he's going to be playing on the left-hand side. And I do think that Ben White has been sensational this year. You can see already the times that Tomiyasu was come in, a player I really like, a player that last season was a superb right back and one of the best in the league. But Ben White has been better, and he has kept some players quiet this season already. People have talking about how Ben White can come up against the likes of Zaha and Almiron and Maximan and players like Mahrez and all these players that people have tried to say, oh, they'll get the better of Ben White. Rashford was another one. He's managed to cope. So if there's any player this season that would fill me with confidence to keep a player quiet, it would be Ben White. And that's what we're going to have to do because I'm a huge fan of Manor Solomon. I really am. Let's see who this is from. It is from C Law AFC. I hope you're well, mate. Big up yourself. Have you changed your mind about who's getting relegated? It's so hard to judge at the moment. I have changed my mind. As I said to you, I mean, Fulham are the surprise package for me. I thought they'd struggle. I always fancied Forest to stay up with their attitude and Steve Cooper's tactics. But Bournemouth, Everton, and Fulham were the three that I went for at the start before a ball was even kicked. Of course, that changed pretty quickly when I saw how good Fulham were. Bournemouth have always been ones that I thought would be struggling. I do stick with them to go down. I think Southampton look to me as if they're just not got that experience to keep themselves up. They're actually got a younger squad than Arsenal. So I don't see that happening. So I think those two will go down, Bournemouth and Southampton. And then I think it's honestly, it's honestly a tough one. Leicester look in trouble. Palace don't look great. West Ham need to pick up points. Forest are in trouble. I think Wolves are going to be safe. So I'm going to stick with Leeds. And I hate saying that because I actually really like Leeds and I love Joe on the channel. But I do think they're going to struggle. I just do. I think they're going to struggle to get the 3 points. So, yeah, Everton, I think the Dyche factor will keep them up. It's going to be between Leeds and Forest, I think, because Forest away form is shocking. Leicester, I think, will just pick up points here and there. But yeah, if I had to pick one, it would be between Leeds and Forest and Leicester at the moment. And it keeps changing, but I will stick with Leeds. Next question comes in from Steve. Big up, Steve. It says, important Arsenal win tomorrow, but we need to see more clean sheets because he gave away sloppy goals. There'll be times you'll need to grind out a 1-0. Listen, absolutely key. And I think sometimes when you grind out those 1-0s, it's actually more important than nicking the last minute winners. Because as much as that's more exciting, and we saw the scenes at the Emirates, 1-0 wins are something that we used to take for granted under George Graham. And people, believe it or not, used to say it was boring. Give me 1-0s and 2-1s every day of the week. Why? It's a results business and it's 3 points, guys. Clean sheets are massively key. Massively key. And we need to get used to getting back to keeping those because for me, that was exactly what we needed. Let's see what else we've got in the question box. We have a few here. This one's come from Afsar. Hope you're well, bruv. Says, would you settle for a draw? It was an honor to say hello to you at the Emirates, Dan, and yourself, bro. Listen, I wouldn't settle for a draw because we need to win. But there's a really important part to this, Afsar. If you can't win, do not lose. And I need to see that. I don't want to see it against Fulham, mind you, but I do need to see it in games. And I feel like the Manchester United game at Old Trafford was one that we should not have lost. Was one that we sat there at 1-1 and thought, right, see out the game now. We might nick this 2-1, but we're definitely not going to lose it 2-1. We ended up losing it 3-1. Manchester City at the Etihad, I felt that we gifted City goals. Do not lose the game. And that's what I want to go and see at the Etihad now. You know, at the Emirates, we gifted City goals. I'm sorry, we did. But they did deserve the 3 points. We go to the Etihad, we don't lose. We go to Anfield, we don't lose. We go to St James's Park, a game that now we should be able to win, although it's a fortress, but we do not lose. We don't lose to Chelsea at home. You know what I mean? We win our home games. And this is what I want to see. This is where we are at. 12 games to go. And I need to see that this team are improving in that area of the game because for me, that is what could let us down. Big up, Luke. I hope you're well, bruv. He says, would you start Tomiyasu at left back instead of Zinchenko to offer us more aerial defensive ability, especially at set pieces to deal with a very physical tool Fulham side? I think it's a really good point. And What would interest me is when Arteta is going to utilise Tomiyasu at left back, because if there was ever a game to do it, it would be in a game like this with the likes of Mitrovic and some of the big lads they have at the back. But I think Zinchenko is so important to the way Arteta wants to play that I just don't see him dropping in for Tomiyasu in this one. Thought he was really poor against Sporting Lisbon the other night, Zinchenko. And when Tomiyasu come on, I actually thought he was really good. So it was a player that I kind of thought we'd see a little bit more of in parts. But I must say, I'm not really sure that we're going to see him in this game. Zinchenko, I think in terms of build-up play on the ball, he's one of the best we've got. He really is. I'm a huge fan of Kieran Tierney, and I think it's going to be sad if the rumours are true about him leaving for Newcastle in the summer. And I hope that is just a rumour and he's happy to stay and fight for his place here, silverware this season. But I do think that if you want somebody to defend, it's Kieran Tierney. If you want somebody to do a bit of both and go forward and cross and defend, it's Kieran Tierney. If you want somebody who's got great aerial threat, one-on-one defending, it's Tomiyasu. And if you want somebody who's going to be so vital to the way that you play in that inverted role, then of course you play Zinchenko. And that is honestly why I believe that Arteta is going with that. Last couple of questions. My mum says we need to do better on corners and set pieces. Yeah, we do. Taking them and defending from them. It's been poor of the last. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do there. But clean sheets are vital, people. Absolutely vital. Niall or Neil, I'm not sure. But big up yourself. I hope you're well, bruv. Says Gabriel was in a poor run of form when we played Fulham and Mitrovic capitalised. Do you think with Gabriel back on form we'll be safer? I think Gabriel's been amazing this season. I really do. And he does get a hard time. I've said that he's got a bit of the bozo gene. It's actually not an insult, to be honest. I honestly don't mean that because Keown had it, Bold had it, Adams at times had it. Because they're aggressive defenders. And we've got two players that complement each other. Saliba's that ball-winning defender, that ball-playing defender, and then Gabriel is that block and that absolute solid rock. And I think you need both. I really do. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is two defenders that can work well together and that are giving us a little bit of solidarity, particularly with Thomas Partey in there. And I think with Gabriel playing the way he is, we won't have to worry. He's always going to have a moment. He's always going to have a moment. I lost my head on one show. I can't remember what game it was now. I think it was Leeds, where he almost gave away a penalty and got sent off in the last minute with Bamford. I was like, look, why do it? Why do it? What are you doing? Stop being that idiot. It's frustrating, but I still love him. I think he's been fantastic at times. I thought he was immense against. I think there's been 4 games this season where he's been, for me, potentially man of the match, 2 of which have come in the last 4 or 5 games. I think he's been exceptional. Leicester, I thought he was an absolute monster. So let's hope that he has another good game against Fulham. Big up Craig. Craig says, Dan, would you say Arsenal need to win 9 games out of 12 to win the Premier League? Mate, I really don't know about this one. I think we can afford to lose 2 more games. 2 more games. And I don't think we can lose to City. So it's going to be hard. I don't think the Premier League title's always won against the big clubs. I remember when Leicester won the league, we lost them Leicester twice. We beat Leicester twice, and we were still finished 11 points behind them, or whatever it was. I think if we were to lose this league, we would look back at the games like Southampton away. We'd look back at Everton away, Brentford at home. And those would be the games that we look at and go, yeah, we messed up there. This is a Manchester City side that I believe can win their next 11 games that they've got. That's how good they are. So if we are to lose 2 more games, I think that will be it. We won't be able to lose any more. I honestly do. I honestly do think that. This one comes in from Ibby. It says, wouldn't selling KT be a good move? He don't fit the way that we want to attack. He's great, but how much do you think we should be looking to get for him? I think 40 million would be perfect. I agree and disagree on a couple of things there, Ibby. I don't think it would be a good move because then when Zinchenko's injured, which he is, we have no left back. Now, Tomiyasu can play there. That's fine. But actually, he's not really a natural left back. He's someone that comes in and does a really good job, but he's not a Kieran Tierney. He doesn't overlap. He doesn't go forward. And if we've got Ben White and Tomiyasu playing there, you're relying on Ben White even more to be that overlapping defender. And I just don't think that that's what we need. I think we need strength in depth. I don't think we need our right back also playing left back cover. So I don't think it would be a good move, and I think we'd need to replace him. 40 million is yeah, maybe more. I mean, if Ben Chilwell's 50, then Kieran Tierney is, as far as I'm concerned. That both team players get injured, and both players are as good as each other, in my opinion. So I'll be looking to get 50 million from Kieran Tierney, particularly if it's Newcastle. We might be able to push to the higher end of the deal, seeing as they've got a lot of money. But I'll be gutted when he goes. Absolutely gutted. I think he epitomises everything I want to see in an Arsenal shirt in terms of professionalism and winning mentality. Patrick says, what do you think of the Spurs penalty? I haven't seen it, mate. I'm sorry, I haven't seen that game yet. So I won't be able to tell you until match of the day, which will be very interesting tonight. Very, very interesting. Gunnar Russ in the chat. Big up, Russ. I hope you're well, mate. I will see you tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, mate. I think it's going to be a real good um, fixture and a good day away day out. So I'm looking forward to that one. And I hope you're better, my friend, after your cold, ear infection, flu symptom, whatever it be, man. So I hope you're well, mate. Let's see what happens tomorrow. This one's going to be a big game and one that I am quietly confident in. If you're going to ask me for a prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I don't think we keep a clean sheet. I don't think any of our evidence of late has suggested that we will against the side that, let's be honest, is going to be physical. It's going to be bully boys and has players like Mana Solomon and, of course, Mitrovic. Another player they've got, which I think will cause us problems tomorrow because he want a little bit of revenge and to prove that it was wrong to get rid of him, is, of course, Willian. I think it's going to be him and Mana Solomon that could cause some problems, particularly getting those balls into the box for Mitrovic. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Guys, we're going to wrap it up and leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been a good stream, funny enough. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. To try and give you more of an instant reaction of the weekend's fixtures. So hopefully when Saturdays are a good day for me and I'm not at the football, I'm not at watching the Formula One or busy, then I'll put some content out for you on a Saturday or a Sunday. You're going to see a lot more from me. I'm going to be doing daily shows as of next week, starting at 4:00 every day, and it'll just be a half-hour show of daily football news. So make sure that if you're new, smash a like on this, subscribe to the channel if you're new. It's absolutely free. Get me up to 8K people. All you've got to do is click a button and then it's done. And we will see you next time, where hopefully Arsenal picks up 3 points at Craven Cottage and can then go back to being 5 points clear. Until then, we'll see you next time. Up the Arsenal. Stay safe, people, and take it easy. Laters.